People, happy Wonder Wednesday and happy Valentine's Day. I really love the fact that it's Valentine's Day, that it falls on a Wednesday, because you know how much I love community and how much I love this community in particular. So, very happy to be here. If this is your first time, we're Floxies community, an international community for women in UX UI design and Webflow development. And we gather here every Wednesday to what we like to call our Wonder Wednesdays. We use a really cute little metaverse that I'm going to show you as our office. So what you can see here, this is our headquarters where we have our regular events every week. And so this is right here is our co-working space. And I'm just going to walk up to our auditorium where our guest is waiting for me. Here we go. Hello, hello. Happy Wonder Wednesday, Floxies. It's great to have you all here. I was just saying it's great to be here on Valentine's Day because you know how much I love you all and how much I love this community. So, yeah, it's great. Hello, Penny.
Hello. I loved all the hearts that you were sharing on Discord this morning. It's great. Today.
It's perfect, isn't it? It's just Valentine's Day. It's our Wonder Wednesday. I couldn't have wished for a better day. Couldn't have wished for a better speaker today because, you know, Penny, she's been with us from the very, very beginning. I was scrolling through our conversation on Discord and I found a picture of me on the beach and we were just having a video call like from 2021, and it just gave me a lot of memories from back then. So I'm truly honored that you're still here with us today, Penny. I admire you a lot. I respect your expertise and just the wealth of experience that you have in the digital and just tech space in general. And so I was really happy to see that you wanted to be our guest today.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. I don't know how much I actually deserve all of that, but I certainly appreciate that that you embrace me and help me feel, warmly welcomed here all the time. So I'm
The
happy
warm,
when you said,
fuzzy feeling.
yeah. And when you said, I'm looking for somebody who wants to do a presentation tomorrow, I was like, I think I could do that. I don't know. We'll see. I guess we're going to find out whether I could actually do this or not. But I thought this was a good opportunity to share something that's been really important to me for the last year, and hopefully will be going forward in the future. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I like about our community as well, that we don't always host events about design or development necessarily, because we look at the whole individual maybe from a kind of like 360 angle. So you cannot be an amazing designer or an amazing developer without also looking after certain things, and one of them is productivity, being organized, having a process that works for you. And so that's why I really loved the topic of today, and maybe I'm just going to let you introduce it for us.
Sure. Okay. So I have been for the past year working in a brand new tool called Tana. Tana isn't actually available for public access yet. It's been in early access for about the last 16 months or so, but we're getting very close now to a public launch. Within the next few weeks is the last I've heard. I know they were aiming and working really hard to have it out during Q1 of this year. So hopefully within the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, we'll see it publicly available. And so it seemed like a good time to start talking about it more. There are about, I don't know, 17, 18,000 people working in a Slack channel that have been working with the tool for quite some time. And along the way, as the tool's been evolving from what was, a very well thought out basis has grown and expanded and evolved over the past year that I've been using it in amazing ways, and it's made a big difference for me. Some of you may know, will know from my talk prior to talks being recorded and presented on YouTube. So you can't go back and watch it, but I did do a presentation on ADHD because that is something that I struggle with. And I struggle with project planning, organizing, things like that. And yet I love to have things very organized. But I was always struggling with how to do that, what tool to use. A few years ago, I found the bullet journal, which some of you may have heard of, which is essentially a system. It's not specifically a book, but it's a system that gives you sort of a framework for capturing the things that you need to deal with, planning for the future, and looking back at the past. And I loved it, except that it meant that if I didn't finish something, which is not surprising, or if I put something on a list for today and didn't get it done today, I needed to rewrite it tomorrow. And after a while of not finishing things and after like 2-3 weeks of an item showing up and going, I'm going to get to that today. I'm going to get to that today. I would eventually just, maybe it wasn't that important, or maybe, the world didn't end because I didn't finish it, and eventually it would just disappear. But the whole having to rewrite things constantly and all of the handwriting involved in it got tiresome. But it was for me at the time the best system, because it didn't require me to fit into somebody else's idea of what a daily planner was. It allowed me to sort of create whatever I wanted to track, whatever information I wanted to capture, and however I wanted to plan my days and my weeks. But the fact that it wasn't digital really kind of made me crazy. And so when I found Tana, I realized it was the bullet journal I was looking for. It's essentially very similar in idea, but let me sort of get into the first couple of slides. I've got just a few slides here, and then we'll go into Tana and I'll show you how it works.
That's amazing, and thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. I appreciate you sharing all of that. And I know we had that really special event off camera, and that's one of the best events that we've ever had. And I love that you're here and you're here sharing what works for you, because I'm sure lots of people can resonate with that. And as you can see as well, like already from LinkedIn here, Ash Forest, she says, I love bullet journaling. She does it in Airtable, which is a no-code tool database that some of us here are familiar with. So yeah, thank you for that.
Great, excellent. Yeah, so one of the things about bullet journaling is that if you go looking for bullet journaling online, you will find millions of beautiful images of things that people have decorated their bullet journals and all of that stuff. And, that's lovely, but that's not really the idea behind it. The idea is that you're supposed to be capturing the things you need to get done. So I always had a very boring bullet journal. I finally had to get colored pencils just to make it look a little bit more interesting, because it was usually just long lists of things. Anyway, so let's go into a little bit about Tana. Oops, hang on to get onto. There we go. So Tana is an all-in-one workspace. Ideally, it's an evolution from previous tools like Notion. You may have heard of Obsidian or Roam, which are knowledge management tools. It's in early access. And for some of us, it's revolutionary. And it's built and backed by people who've worked at the biggest tech companies like Google and Facebook and whatnot, and a good selection of VC firms who are supporting the concept behind it. Essentially, Tana is a node-based knowledge graph. So rather than files and folders and pages and documents, it's a knowledge graph. And a graph means that you can, the other part about Tana is that anything can connect to anything else. So any node can connect to any other node. And that's where the power of it really comes in. So files and folders are so last century, but a graph works the way the brain does. So we don't necessarily in our brains put files and folders and documents. We have ideas. We have an idea, and then maybe that idea has some parts to it. And then you have another idea, and there's some thoughts around that. And what Tana does is it allows you to sort of capture that and then make connections between things, the same way that the brain does. So we start with a concept, we add a subconcept, we add another subconcept. We might break that second subcontext down. We might break that down even further. So it's starting to look kind of like the outliner for an essay or something like that. And then maybe, oh, we have a different idea that's sort of more on the same level as that previous one, and one more. Okay, so we've got a concept and we've got some information that we've captured about that. So we're going to do another one, and we've got another concept and some more. And then we realize that, well, this new concept has a connection to the old one. And so we can connect those. All right, and now we're gonna switch over to Tana, but essentially Tana.inc is where you can find out more information about Tana. So I'm gonna just, I'm gonna escape out of this.
Yeah, and I've shared the link as well in the chat for people to go and check it out. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to share my new screen here.
I love this because what you were describing, like you have an idea, then there's a concept, and then there's a sub-concept and another thing. That's usually when I get to the end of my day and I just switch off the laptop because I just get confused with all my ideas and all my sub-concepts. It was great to see
exactly
that you were able to create a connection.
Right. And so we've got a lot of ideas. So essentially what I've done here is I've created a bunch of concepts that I'm calling concepts, but essentially they're sort of top level ideas that we're going to look at. Tana, as I said, is an outliner. And if I open this up, I can then say, so we're going to sort of talk about what the concept of outlining is. We're going to look at some basics, some hierarchy, and talk a little bit more about elements of the outline. And so outlines help you organize your thoughts. Each bullet point that you're creating is a separate node in Tana. Each node has its own identifier. So every single line that I've created here has an address in the Tana database that I can then connect any node to another node, because I can basically say, take that piece over there and connect it to this piece over here. So the basics are, you use that concept of indenting the same way we do in any other kind of outlining tool like Microsoft Word or Google Docs. It's easy to see that, this outline concepts and basics and hierarchy are all on one level. And then when you go into the next level, each one of those is sort of related through one level, but they're all related back to the one above it.
Mm-hmm.
Nodes, as you can see, I can expand and collapse nodes, and then references can be linked from one node to another. Nodes have hierarchy. So each one of these nodes, sibling, parent, grandparent, every node, those are all siblings because they're all on the same level. Hierarchy of nodes is apparent to these four, and the grandparent of all of these is Floxie's demo, because that's 2 levels up.
Mm-hmm.
Now nodes can be moved. So you start by, oops, okay, I'm not going to do that. Essentially, you type something, hit enter, and then if you wanted to move it underneath, you just hit tab, and that then creates your child element of the one above it. Shift tab then moves things out. So if I hit shift tab, it's going to shift it back out to the same level as this one, and takes it out of where it was. So I'm going to undo that, and now it's back. And I can drag nodes around. So if I want to reorder things, I can do that. I could say this one, I want to move it up here. I can do that. Or I can grab it with my keyboard. Oops, I don't do this very often. And then I can move it around that way too. And I can grab several at a time, and I can move them out, and I can do all sorts of things. So it's easy to grab things, move them around, and then navigating on the node. Essentially, if we wanted to see, let's say we're going to look at node navigation. If we click on this little bullet here, it's going to open up node in its own space. Now node navigation has the focus, and I'm going to go back to where I was. But you'll also notice when I was in there, there's also breadcrumbs. So I can go back to my outline here, where my node navigation was. If I go back to my Floxies demo, then I'm here. And if I go back to today, Wednesday, February 14th, this is where we started. So there's not numerous ways of moving around. And as I said before, you can expand and collapse. So every one of these is a node, and nodes can be referenced. Every node's unique. Every node has an owner. So this node is owned by its parent here, but essentially in the end, it's all linked. It all just keeps linking back up. So nodes have some basic properties. Oops, created time. So there's a number of things that come along with a node that you don't have to set up. So it automatically registers what time a node was created, when it was last edited. If you're working in a team situation, you can say which user edited something. You can note that something is complete and when it was completed. And there's a number of other ones but these are the ones that are sort of most useful. You don't normally see those, but if at any time you want to, you can sort of request to see that information. Done time. Typing quickly this morning. Okay. Formatting can be applied to nodes. So if I double click that, I can bold it, I can italicize, I can highlight. Oops. Highlight. Yes. Highlighting only has one color, unfortunately. And nodes can have emojis. So if I hit colon, I can add an emoji.
Yay, we love emojis.
I can also at any point use my emoji keyboard in my Mac to bring up any other emojis that I want. There's just a simple list of mostly smiley faces and whatnot in the colon one. And then you can create a reference to a node. So if let's see, I'm going to copy this one. So I'm just going to click on that node and I'm going to go Command C. And I'm going to go down here and I'm going to paste that. So now what's happened is I've created a reference back to this node. It's not a copy of it. Well, essentially it is a copy of it, but it's a mirror copy. So if I were to click in here and say, and I'll change it, you can see that it changed up here at the same time. So I could create something. I could create a reference to it somewhere else. I don't have to go back to the original in order to add more information or to do more with it. And if I then see if I can do this. They keep changing things, right? So now that's not a reference anymore for some reason, which I didn't expect it to do. Okay, there's always new things to be learning here. And if I change it up here, it changes down here. So no matter where you go, everything is always in sync because this isn't actually a copy. It's going to that node, grabbing that information and bringing it in. Okay, so now we've got a whole lot of nodes and a bunch of text, but what do we do with that? How do we actually use that to make things, um, make things, but create some structure? We do that with super tags. So a super tag turns your node into an object. So now it's not just some text, it's actually a thing, it's an object. And objects can have additional information attached to them. We use that to create collections. So think of Webflow and a collection. And collections, are the information about a project. So the name, the whatever. And those super tags then help you structure the information around the object. Super tags, all that information is stored in fields that describe your data. So you can create a field for any kind of information that you need to collect. And again, there's no setup for this. You decide how you want to collect information. So I've got a person here, name, email, phone number. Say I don't need to collect the phone number for people because we never phone anybody anymore, but maybe for texting, yes. But there may be information you need or you don't need. Or say we need to have their Twitter handle, because I don't like to call it X. Maybe you want to know how you met them, who are related people that you have in common, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of different things. You decide what information gets stored about a particular piece of data. You can think of those like a database, or the fields in a database, or the fields in a Webflow collection. So you can create a field anywhere. Doesn't have to be part of a super tag, but usually we use them in super tags. So I can create a field here, and I can say this is a field. So now I can put a field value in here. So now this item has, oops. Yeah. Okay, we're going to see. I'm not sure that I can actually do that. I can drag it. That's what I can do. So now this field is related to this node. It's not related to anything else, though. And in order to create that field, I just used the shift and the greater than sign to create that. Oops. So I did shift greater than, and now I've got a space to create a field. Or you can, so that's without using a super tag, but if I was in a super tag, then I can create field within that. So what kind of fields can you create? Essentially, there are, nine different types. Plain text, options, so options that you can choose from. Instance is connecting another node and saying, or another collection. It's kind of like a multi-reference field or a reference field in Webflow, where you can connect two different collections together. Date, number, user, URL, email, and checkbox. So each of these does something specific when you identify a field as one of these. All right, we'll get to what they look like in just a moment. So searches then, once you've got super tags and fields set up, mean that you can then gather information from anywhere in your Tana graph. So you can search for any super tag or any reference, basically anything that's in your thing. You could just look for a person's name and then find any reference to that person. And then there's a number of operators that you can use. So you can use a super tag and a date, or a super tag and some other super tag. Lots of different ways. You can say date-wise, you can say before this date, after this date, or not before, not after. This starts getting really complex when you start digging into what searches can do, but they're extremely powerful.
I can
So
tell.
then once you've got a lot of data in, or once you've got your data in, then you can look at your data in different ways. So you can see a list. So essentially what we're looking at here is a list, but you can then also look at it in tables. So I'm going to say show view options, and now I could say, look at everything that's in under this node here as a table. And now it's a table. And I could say, I want to see it as cards. So you'll see in a moment, I'll show you how a task status works to basically create a Kanban board. Or I can look at it as calendar. So right now I don't have anything that's date related in here, so you're not going to see anything on the calendar. I can look at it as tabs. So if I wanted to see what did the table, how does it look as a table, cards, etc. And then I can also look at it as a side menu. So if I can look at the list and it'd have more items down here, etc., etc. Okay, so close that up. And then how do you get information in? So one of the beautiful things, you can certainly work with your screen. Right now, there is not a mobile app. They're working on it. It's really hard to work on a phone or an iPad. It is possible, and there've been some small improvements along the way, but they're really focused on getting the app built. But what they did do was bring out a capture app so that on your iPhone or your Android device, you can capture text, voice, memos, images, media, various things like that. So I can take a photo. Let me just grab a photo here. And I'm going to share that now. Actually, I'm going to do that a little differently. So you can't see what I'm doing here, but I am basically using my Tana Capture app to grab an image, and I'm going to use the photo, and it's going to send it up to Tana. Now, I have to actually go here, and I'm going to go here, and
Penny, just a heads up, I don't know if it's your connection or your headphones. You're starting to turn into a bot, but not yet.
Okay. All right. Okay.
The transition has begun.
Okay. Well, it's that time of day when my internet gets a little funky. So it usually won't last for too long, hopefully.
Yeah. No, so far so good. Just it happened twice. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we have an image that I uploaded from my phone to Tana. So this is the image I just took, and I uploaded it, and I can then download it. And I'm going to do that because I want to also show you what it looks like too. Is it going to work? Yep, it's working. Okay, I'm going to just stick it on my desktop. I'll hit desktop. Okay. So now I'm back here. I'm going to get out of this, and I'm going to actually upload that image a different way. So I've got an image on my desktop, and I'm going to drag it onto here, and you can see that it's saying drop my image, and it's uploading my image. And in a moment, it will be there. And there's the image again. So there's numerous ways of getting things in to Tana. You can scan text, and it will turn it in. You can scan text in an image or in a book or whatever, and then you can upload it as text, which is really helpful for especially students and whatnot. All right, and then the last thing we're going to cover here is that AI is already built in. So you connect to the OpenAI platform. It's not ChatGPT, which is essentially a tool on top of the OpenAI platform. You're actually connecting directly to the OpenAI platform. So you're only paying for the amount that you use. So I spend to maybe $3 a month unless I'm doing a lot of work. So it's as opposed to $20 a month. And you can then create your own prompts and do lots of really complex things. And I
Is it
don't
the
do enough of that yet
playground?
to show you. Yeah, essentially it's kind of the playground. You're basically saying, hey, AI, here's some information, send it back to me. So I'm just going to show you if I say, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to say I'm on this node here, Bob's Plumbing, and I'm going to say I've got a little command line system that I can open up and I can say ask AI to, and then I'm going to copy in the rest rather than typing it. And I'm asking it to create a homepage text, including introduction and a list of typical services, plumbing services. And it just goes out and it says, oh, here you go. Welcome to Bob's Plumbing, and we understand now it's not showing me. It was earlier, it was giving me like a big long list of tip plumbing services that they would offer as well. So it's not always perfect, but it usually comes up with a good list of things. But there's so much you can do with commands to move things from one location to another, to add a date, to change a date, to do lots of different things. It's just quite brilliant. And so let's look at what super tags look like. So I created a few super tags just as a starting point. So we have a project tag. And right now you can't tell there are fields here. If I open this up, we can see that I've created some fields that are typical for a project. And I have a project status called not started. I have set it up so that the status not started appears here beside the name. And I have a search here for related tasks. And we see a related task because down here, I created a task that then has related projects. And I can now connect this task with a project. I can set a due date for it. And let's say tomorrow. And it's all natural language. So you can say today, tomorrow, next Wednesday. You don't have to actually know the date in order to pick it, but you can also just get a date picker as well. And I've got options. I've got task status options. So I can say that's a to-do, or I could change that to in progress, or I could even say it's done. And I can set a priority. So I added 3 little priorities here, and I said that one's a really important one to do. Now, I only have one task, and it's showing up here as well. What I don't have right now is a connection that says only show me tasks that are related to this project, right? So if I created another project here, but this is for a different project. Right now, I don't have, so this is the project. Clone, nope, that's wrong. I'm sorry. I'm gonna undo that.
No worries.
No, this is a task. So, okay. So this is another task. And you see how it shows up here, but we actually want it related to another project. So we don't have another project, but we could, let's see, we have another project up here. Here we go. This one's a project. So we're going to create that one as a project. And now when I go to this one, I have 2 projects to choose from. So now I can choose the second project. Now, I'm still seeing both projects or both tasks up here because right now it's not differentiating from one project to the next. So I could say, look for all the tasks that also are in the field related project, and I can say parent. Because you remember that related tasks is a cool project is related to these related tasks. If I run with this once, now you'll see that one of those disappeared. But if I go down to
It's like a
this
filter.
exactly. So if I go to this project here now, and I look at related tasks, this query does not have that field in there because that was created before. And I can say parent.
Marnie, did you have a question
so now,
earlier or did no? Okay, cool. No worries.
So I'm gonna make this a little bit more obvious. One.
It looks a little bit codey to me, like the visual interface. It's like Visual Studio.
And a little bit. I mean, I think that's because it's in dark mode. You can actually choose whether to be dark mode or light mode. So that's probably part of it, and the colors. But the colors really help to kind of make everything sort of stand out a little differently.
Yeah.
Let's see. So then, if I then said, okay, these two are also tasks, I'm going to add a tag task. And this is, so now I've got those connected. Now I got a client here. I'm going to call these two clients. Okay, so now I've got 3 clients, but I don't have any way of connecting a client with a project. So what I'm going to do is go into my project. So I'm going to configure my project tag. So this is where I had set up these dates. So now I'm going to actually also connect, put a field in for related client. And I'm going to make that an instance. So I'm going to configure this field and make it an options instance. And now I want this to be instances of client. Now, when I go into my related client here, I see my companies that I can then choose from. So now I've connected projects and tasks and clients. And that kind of gives you an idea of how it works. I think I could go on and on and on, and it would just get more and more complex and confusing. I'm kind of thinking this is probably a good place to stop, other than to show you a project. So this was something I did last year.
Yeah, I would love to see how you use it for your process.
So one of the things I've never done is being a journaler about my garden. So some people are like crazy about, their gardens, and they note down, every bug that shows up and the first time the seeds pop out. And ADHD can't do that. But I thought I would try since I had a tool to try this out with, I thought I would, sort of do that. So I added an image that shows up at the top here. And I created some fields, so per year. So next year, or this year, will be 2024, and I'll be able to pull up, add all of this information for 2024. Some dates, some notes, and definitely do not plant all your radishes at the beginning of the season because you end up with a lot of radishes and then none later. And then each week I would take a picture from my window upstairs, and
I love the Monday.
Progression.
If you scroll up, it was like Monday, August 7th, greens are a mess.
Oh, and they were. It was crazy. It was a little crazy. I plant a lot of greens. So there's my garden at the beginning of the season. So that's on June 12th. And then this is 2 weeks later. And then another couple of weeks later.
That's beautiful. Elizabeth says, great garden design. Yeah, I agree.
Thanks. I love boxes. I'm really good with boxes. And then you can see it starts getting crazier
So
and
brain div.
crazier. And then towards the end of the season, it's kind of getting pretty tired. Okay. So then the other thing I did was I created a list of all of the seeds that I was going to plant. So here you can just see them in the list view, but I could also see them in a table. So it's going to take a moment because it's big. So I can choose which items I see in the table itself. So I could say, who did I get it from? Seed source. I don't need seeding location, but I can see who I purchased my seeds from. And I've got these set up as options. Then I could show them to you as cards. So if I was really industrious and I went to the seed website, I could grab images for each of those, and now it would be much more attractive. But even, no matter which view I'm in, if I open this up, I can still see all of the data related to this. So each box is a bed. And if I go into the bed, I can see some images of the beds. I can see some notes that I made about those. And then I can see all the plants that I put in that specific bed. And that's all getting pulled in from that one list of all of the plants. Now, I didn't necessarily make that one list all at one time. I might have done that on different days, but because it's a search, I basically said, go find me everything with a super tag of plant that's related to this particular bed, 8/3/2023, and in the garden year of 2023. And so then it says, okay, these are all the plants that I had assigned to that bed. If I go back to 2023, I could see other beds and the plants that I planted in that bed, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I use it that way. And if I go back to, let's see, where do I want to go here?
I can see you can get really granular, like you can get really...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is like great for people that really love to collect things. And I was never like a Pokemon kid or things like that, but there are people that are just like, they love to collect and grab data. It's great for that sort of thing.
Irina says, my dream is to organize all aspects of my life like that, but I'm too unorganized to make it true.
Well, you know what? That's how I always felt. And what I will tell you is that I'm not perfectly productive. I have ADHD. I procrastinate. I have lots of things that I struggle with, but I have, using a system that somebody else had developed, I have a much better handle on my day now than I ever had before. So I can look at my week and see all my events that are coming up. I have a little list of things that I do in the mornings. I clean my glasses every day now, whereas I was cleaning them like once a week, and I had like, I don't know, like whole communities living on the front of my glasses half the time. I check my horoscope, I do all sorts of things. And then I have my daily schedule that gets pulled in with a search that says what's, everything that is due on a particular day. So I've got, what item, so create social media posts for the NCN community. Just got to do that today. It's an active, I've prioritized it. I've got a little checklist within it so that I can make sure I do all the things that need to be done. I got a few other things here that still need to be gotten out and cleaned up. And then I have a few things that I have organized, but I've said could be done today, but I haven't scheduled them, so they may or may not happen. I've got some things that I added today. So I set this up the day before, and then I want to be able to see anything that I add during the day. So I have a special query that just says anything that I've added or modified today. And then I see this is something that comes along with Tana. There's this reference that shows me anything that has sort of been connected to today, anywhere that I have set up in the graph at some point, so that most of us don't really tend to use this all that much, but it is still kind of handy sometimes to have that reference. So that's making a big difference for me in terms of being able to check things off. And it's wonderful when I get to the end of my day and I can see all the things that I got done in a day. Whereas before I had no idea. I'd get to the end of the day and go, I think I did things. I don't know. I don't know what I did today. And now I can see everything that I did, all the emails I sent, all the stuff that I set up. And I can see the things that I didn't get done yesterday. The ones I didn't get done yesterday will show up and be ready for me to do them today. So like I was talking before, I used to have to rewrite things. Now they just show up because they're related to the day. And that search says, look for everything today or that hasn't been done yet.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Right. And so then, yeah, so then if I actually did one of these things, then I could say I did that. And now it's done, and it would actually show up on today because today would be the done time for it. I'm going to undo that so that I make sure that I still do that. So that's essentially Tana.
That's super cool. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing us that. Let's I have so many questions. There you go. Lots of all the people here applauding. Nikki's having the best time of her life. She's been dancing the whole event. Awesome. I have lots of questions, but first off, thank you again for such a great explanation. The pace that you have, the way by which you explain things is really clear, and I really loved it. I have a couple questions on my end, and people in the community, I encourage you as well, if you do have any questions, use the hand that Marnie's cat was using earlier, and just raise your hand. So I have to ask, how does it compare with Notion?
I will tell you that I used Notion for a while, and I was probably using it more than anything. I've never really set up projects. I've tried, I've gotten templates for projects, and I just never got into it. I was using it for my university courses, and I was sort of keeping track of all those things. And I just found I got so confused after a while because I had databases and this and that. I realized that I had to kind of go back to the beginning because I sort of jumped into using Notion and gone, oh, here's a thing. And I would just create stuff and then eventually I'd be like, I've hit a dead end. I have to step back like 6 steps and now learn how to build this thing and then make the connections, because all of those connections need to be made first. The lovely thing about Tana is that you just start working. And then at some point you go, oh, that's a task. I could create a task super tag. Oh, okay. And the task is connected to a project and I can create that. Or I've got a book and I would want to track information about the book. All the information that I store about all the course work that I'm doing in my university courses now is done in Tana. And I have access to it all, and it's all interconnected. But I didn't have to set it all up in the first place so that it would work. I've been able to just sort of, it evolves over time. It's different in that, there are things within Notion that, work in particular ways. And I don't know Notion well enough to sort of be able to do a real blow by blow. I like this better partly because it doesn't require me to have it all set up and thought out in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, you kind of build it as you do things, and yeah,
yeah, yeah,
structure it. You have a mental process, and then you structure things in Tana following that process that comes
yeah,
along. Mm.
yeah. Whereas, in Notion, if you want a database, you have to sort of say, okay, I want a database.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Tana's kind of creating the database as you go, right? So
yeah. I
yeah.
see. My follow-up question. Does it offer any sort of automation? Say, for example, you didn't get to check all your to-dos for the day. Do you get
Hmm.
do you get a notification? Do you get an email? Do you get something that says, Penny, don't forget you have these things to do? Or
No, not without setting it up. So it doesn't have, at this point, there's still a lot of limitations
Mhm.
in what it can connect to. Um, I'm sure that is going to develop over time where it could, send messages. But essentially, what I have, if I just go back in and share that last thing that I was looking at again.
Sure.
So again, this is a tool or it's a template that I purchased from somebody else. But if I go to not today, if I go to tomorrow, it's going to just take a moment here. There we go. Where am I here? And go to tomorrow. So when I go to tomorrow, I have a template set up that has an agenda search. So this is what this brilliant person had created. He basically has a query that says, go find everything that has like this parent's date. So tomorrow, February 15th, or anything that hasn't been marked done
Mhm.
up to this point. And it brings it all in here. So now I can see everything that I could potentially add to my list. So this is how I keep track of what's done and what's not done,
Yeah.
is by having a search that pulls all of that up. Hopefully, by the time I get to the end of the day and tomorrow, some of this will actually have come off the list so that it's
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a
not quite
long
so much.
list.
It is. But see, so now what I do when I get in here is I group it by the project essentially, right?
Mm.
So then I can see, here's my things that need to be done and the particular groupings. And then I can see, it's like where I've got, a bunch of different tasks related to any specific project. I could then instead, I can look at them by priority, and I can, change a priority in here, and I can say this one needs to become a higher priority. And now that one's moved up into the top level by
Yeah.
just changing the priority, because that's how I'm grouping it, right? So once you start getting used to it, and because you've set it up the way you want it to be set, you're not trying to wrap your head around how somebody else thinks. You're
Mhm.
kind of making it work the way your brain works. But what that means is that it takes a lot to figure it out, to learn in the first place, and to set it up and get using it. And it can be a little overwhelming, which is
Mm.
sort of where I want to eventually be helping people do this. This is sort of perhaps my retirement project, or my retirement job is to start helping people use a tool like this.
Oh, you will be
Uh,
amazing at it. I mean, this is like an example of it.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
hoping there's the reason why I jumped at this opportunity, was to at least see if I could even describe this. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna ask more questions because I have a few.
mhm.
So you have that sort of legend, the symbols that you use, right? Are they set or did you choose them? Like I noticed, for
Yep.
example, parents have a circle with a sort of aura around them. Uh,
Ah,
yeah. Where do I find all those
Okay.
symbols? Were they set by you or the person that created the template, or are they default?
Right. So those are default within Tana. So that is sort of how you can tell that something is a reference. So a plain bullet, when we were looking at just the list of items, right, that was not referenced. Actually, let me just go back to.
Yeah. Because I noticed like different kind of UI, and I was wondering, okay, can you customize them or?
Yeah. You can, but only to a point. What you customize is sort of like the additional things you add, like the, hang on here, I'm just trying to get into this, back into the demo here. Okay. Close that and start sharing again. I've lost my cursor. There we go. Share and share this one. Oops. No, we're looking at my whole screen now. Okay, so these are just nodes, right? And you see that when it's open, it's just a bullet point, right? But there are items underneath this, and that's why we're seeing that there's a little halo around it. That tells me there are more items below it, right? Whereas these don't have halos. Then when I created a reference, so I had copied everything as a node and put it down here. Now you get a little dotted line around it. That indicates it's a reference.
Right.
And yeah, and then that's essentially how they indicate to you what something is. Now, if I clicked on this node, now it's actually taking me to the actual node, right? So this is no longer the reference. This is the actual node that one was basically pulling in.
Which we could also call a page. So like I can see here, you can add an icon and a banner. So this could potentially become a page.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You can do lots of different things here, right? But if I added some more text here, and I go back now to my original, now you can see that everything as a node has a halo because I added some more text. And if and you can see now here on this, on my original reference, now there's a reference with a bit of a halo, right? It's kind of filled in. That tells me that there's some text underneath that one, right? And if I then take this away, now there's no halo here anymore because I took that indent away.
And I'm assuming all that is written somewhere in their documentation.
It's there, yes.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah, what I will say, they've worked so hard on the documentation, and it's coming in a year ago. The smartest thing that they did was in the fall of 2022, they invited a number of people that were already working in systems like Notion and Roam and Obsidian and whatnot to come and check out this tool and become ambassadors for the tool. They've created templates and systems that have helped the rest of us learn how to work with these things, because the docs have been hard to parse. Again, kind of developer focused. It's taken a while.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, it looks like such a powerful tool that could definitely do with ambassadors and mentors like yourself to make it more accessible to a wider audience, I'd say. Yeah,
for sure.
Cool, amazing. Well, that's all my questions. Do we have any questions here from the people watching, or any comments before we go? Let me just hide this in the chat. I did see like people chatting a lot. Oh, here we go. Irina.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Happy
So,
Valentine's.
oh, thank you. Happy Valentine's to everyone. Sending lots of love. So I don't know, maybe Penny, you were talking about it, but I just joined a bit later and I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Are there, so looking at all that, it looks super great, but I'll never in my life find time to create that kind of like system. So you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
that you purchase the template. So there are some templates available, right? To, so you can have something to start with.
Yes, and in fact, one of the things that the team is working on right now that I've heard about is that there will be sort of some like a basic there's a starter's guide that kind of explains sort of how to set up tasks and projects and things like that. There is going to be some kind of starting template installed or something that sort of helps you get up to speed a little more quickly when it launches in the next few weeks. I haven't seen what that looks like yet, but it will at least be a starting point to sort of help explain and understand. It took a long time for me to kind of dig around, and I finally, it's like I knew of the ambassadors, but I thought, oh, I can build this, I can figure this out, and then I went, no, I can't really, and I went and picked up a template from somebody, and then did a little bit more and did some more work with her, and she creates some free, some paid templates, and then I've done a lot of work with this other fellow who's done some really amazing templates around productivity, and it's where most of my day stuff comes from. So yeah, I have spent a lot of time, I will tell you that, right? It has taken me a long time to understand it. And then of course I decided I would build my own project system that got really complex, because it's so easy to make things much more complex and fussy than maybe they need to be. So I spent quite a bit of time struggling with that for a while this year, but it also helped me get more and more understanding of how it all works.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what I'm hoping is that I could work with people who, I'm using sort of a similar discovery process that I use with my web clients, to sort of draw out from people what it is that they need to work, they need to be able to collect and track and whatnot, and then help them build over a period of time to the point where they can, but it's like, so they don't have to do all of that stuff themselves. But in the process of teaching them, I also help them, I help build it so that it can be very custom to them.
You can be productive, Penny. Your productivity coach.
I just think it's so hilarious, right? That I'm thinking of even trying to do this when it's been such a struggle for me for so long to have, to be able to actually keep on top of stuff. But
that's how the best mentors are made. They come from a struggle, they defeat the challenge, and then they teach others how to do that. So I have I'm fully what's the word, sure that you're gonna get there. If that's your aim, I'm gonna support it 100%. I'm gonna share the words, and I love the fact that this tool is not even out yet. We're having a first look, a Floxie's first look, which is amazing. Such an honor. So thank you so much, for bringing that tool into the community, for sharing your knowledge once again, and just your experience. And I'm sure if people wanted to play around with it, you have your go-to person now. You can just message Penny, or Penny, for anyone who might watch this in the future, where can they connect with you? What's the best contact you can give me?
At the moment, much as I hate it, my website, buildmarketing.ca, I need a new one, or on Twitter at Penny Olo.
Okay. Let me share your Twitter.
Okay.
Just
here, I'm gonna stop sharing here.
There you
I'll
go.
let you put that in chat.
Put that in the chat.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, Twitter's probably the easiest place to reach me.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well,
And
thank you.
I have a couple of invites if anybody really, really wants to, get started with it. I have a couple of invites that I can provide people. It's not hard to actually get access now, but it's like if you've got an invite, that's even easier. So
Absolutely. That's what we love to hear. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much
great.
again, Penny. I hope you get to go through your to-do list today, thanks to Tana. Thank you for showing us once again. I hope everyone here has a fantastic day, however you want to spend it. And you have all my love. So if you don't have a Valentine, you can be mine. And yeah, if you're in London, I'm organizing a little meetup on Sunday. So hit me up in Discord, as well as the other Floxies ambassadors around the world. This Sunday is the first Floxies Connect. So yeah, let them know if you would like to meet another Floxie, and let's make it happen.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I'll see you lovely people in our Discord.
Great.
Take care.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you, Penny. Bye-bye.